So good morning, everybody. Welcome along to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Morning, Aaron, Brendan, Alison. Yeah, Melbourne was a great trip, actually. Thanks for asking. Caught up with the team, caught up with the crew, and hung out. It's nice to do that. A little bit different in the world of travel and things getting back to the movements of human populations around the country, but it was good to get out and about. Had a few days off the Wealth Coffee Chats, but back at it today. So welcome. We've got our mentoring on tonight. So make sure if you're in our mentoring program, make sure you get along to that one, folks. Just make sure you've got that on the radar. We're going to hear from two of our coaches tonight. We're going to do a case study and also an exit plan study, which is awesome. And we'll also hear from Sam and myself. We've got plenty on the radar tonight, but this morning, we're here for Wealth Coffee Chat. So welcome along. Welcome along. Anyone who's new, if you are new, say hello in the chat. Jason Witten's my name. Most of you know that. Each day, well, most of the days, Monday to Friday, we get together for a bit of a Wealth Coffee Chat. In the mornings, we're mad property investors, maybe just like you, and I've been property investing well over 20 years, and coaching property investors, maybe just like you. There you go. Brendan. Cheer up, Brendan. We'll make it work, mate. Yeah, well, tonight it's Halloween, so lollies and candies and whatever's on the radar, all of those sorts of things. So hopefully all is well, and wherever you are, getting ready for it tonight. Well, listen, Bradley, Brendan, let's get on with it today. Hey, today I wanted to talk about, I was reading an article, read a little bit of information on the weekend about something that's quite interesting. 2 million is not a lot these days, is it? 2 million of these applications processed since June. Tell me in the chat, what do you think that is? What do you think 2 million processed is in the chat? Because there's a lot of talk about interest rates, and, fair enough, the cost of money has increased and probably will increase a little bit more. However, what else is increasing? What else is coming like a freight train? And we've got to be ready. We've got to be ready. We've got to be looking at what might happen. And Bradley is all over it. All over it. Nice work, Bradley. Let's have a look at this one, ladies and gents. Strong net overseas migration is expected next year. And in most cities, the permanent migration cap has been lifted. Immigration. People come to Aussie. That's it. Brendan, bye-bye. Listen, it's been lifted from 160 to 195 for the next 12 months. That's going to continue. And more than 2 million applications have been processed since June. Get your head around that. June, July, August, September, October. 5 months. 5 months, 2 million applications have been processed. That is pretty significant, ladies and gents. And Brisbane looks like it's going to get its fair share. But look at that. 2 million applications have been processed. So I'm pretty excited about what that might mean for us. And right now, that's going to do a whole bunch of things, which I think will counteract. Or at least give us some relief when it comes to the cost of our interest rates. Because why? What can we do? What's going to happen when 2 million people come into this country, ladies and gents? Tell me right now, vacancy rates at all-time lows in the country. What are we going to do? What must we do if our cost has gone up? Some of our cost to own the real estate has gone up 30, 40% base cost when it comes to your interest rate. The rents are going to have to rise. They're going to have to go up. Now, at the end of the day, some people are, obviously worried about that, but you're not a charity. Ladies and gents, folks, you're not a charity. Put your rents up to make sure you can pay for your properties and make sure you're not affected when it comes to the ownership. This is about creating wealth, income, value for you and your family and your future. You're taking some risk. You should be rewarded well, and you're not a charity. If you want to give money away, there's easier ways to do it, ladies and gents. If you want to give money away, then don't worry about borrowing money and worrying about paying stamp duty and all this sort of stuff. Just take some cash out of your bank account and give it to somebody. You don't have to buy a property, right? There you go. Chris is right. Even the prices in some areas, certainly where it's super expensive, like, Sydney and Melbourne, where the house price, has exploded, average house price over $1 million. Some of those higher end prices are being affected by the next purchaser. Not people who bought the property for $1 million are now selling it for less. That's not happening. Just the next buyer is able to borrow less, so they're buying at a different price point. But today I wanted to talk about this idea of a lot of people coming into the country. Check this out. I think I did this the other day. This is the students. There's 600,000 students to enter the country, and then 195. That's the cap. If we look down here, this is 150 plus 150 easily, which is this is the working holiday maker and skilled labour. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of bods coming into the country, ladies and gents, and we need to be, part of that action. Now, some of us might be sitting on our hands going, I worry about this, I worry about that, which is fair enough. That's you've got to make sure you consider your actions and something might happen. But this is a great time to be putting your foot on something out there in the marketplace. The market's a little bit uncertain. Buying might be quite sharp at the moment. And there's certainly great value. There's certainly great value in the market. So let's just have a quick look at a few things here. There's great value in here. Check out this. Check out the difference. Now, if we're talking about price squeezes, if we're talking about things that are getting crunched, and let's say people's buying power is affected, they're worried about, can they afford it? Have a look at the premium right now, and these are some of the biggest unit to housing premium gaps we've seen in a long time, ladies and gents, because the house price had accelerated. The unit price is usually a little bit behind it, and away we go. But have a look at that. Average unit price compared to the average house price. In some of these things, it's pretty extraordinary, right? 60% difference in Brisbane, Sydney, Adelaide, and the ACT. And you look at Melbourne, not far behind, 55. That is pretty significant. So where's there's value out there in the market? What can we be doing? Right now, it might not be a bad time to be having a look at the idea of investing in a unit or apartment or something like that. Now, have a think about this for me. And we've talked about this before. I think I've done this once or twice before. If you think about the call it the proximity of profit. Now, Sam talks about the 4X growth strategy, the 4 strategies to create growth. But proximity, being near something, proximity is super important for dollars, certainly cash flow and value, okay? So if you think about right now, and I did this the other day, let's say this is, I just use that as the CBD, but you can use it. Oh, that's not very good, is it, that color? Let me change that. Let's talk about the distance from something of value has changed. So when we go shopping, let's say you've got a budget. Let's say you've got a buying power. Let's say you've got a budget of 700, right? 700K. Now, let's go to Sydney. How far from the CBD? Tell me in the chat. Ladies and gents. Tell me in the chat, how far from the CBD of Sydney or, you know, the harbour and the water and the fancy places in Sydney do you need to go to buy a house for 700K? What distance for 700K do you need to go? Now, as you're thinking there, somebody put that in the chat for me, all right? Have a guess at what the distance might be, all right? Have a guess at what that distance might be, ladies and gents. All right. I like Tim, I like that. Tim and Brendan, a long way, heaps far. Yeah, it's, you know, it's a long way, 80 to 100K, right? And if you, like, that's ludicrous, right? That's a long way. You're right. You did. Yep. You have to pack your lunch. So, you know, for buying in, let's say, Melbourne, you're certainly in Melbourne sort of 35K from the CBD. And it used to be, ladies and gents, it used to be, yeah, Newcastle. Yeah, exactly. Like, you're not even in Sydney anymore. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. You know, there you go. And Brisbane, it used to be. And we said this for ages. Sam said it for so long. Listen, this type of buying, this proximity buying, places like Pallara, and there was a few infill within the local government area of Brisbane. There were some locations that we're just like, this is not going to last forever at these prices. I remember when we were having people buy in Pallara like for $550, and now it's like $850, right? Anyway, so that was under 20K. So we're now looking at, you know, 30 to 40K as well in Brisbane. All right. Now, if you want to get to the city, if you want to get closer to some things of value, ladies and gents, if you want to get closer to some things of value, there's some things of value. What might you need to do? Tell me in the chat. What's the exchange? If we want to get closer, if we want to go closer, so I don't want to be so far away. I want to be closer to something, whatever that might be. What do we exchange? What do we exchange? Instead of looking for a house, what are our other choices in here? If we want to go closer and we're looking for location, yep, you exchange density, yep. Instead of a large amount of land, you go closer to the city. That helps with land tax, by the way. Remember that one, ladies and gents. You change the property type. That's what happens. Totally do. So instead of a house, you might consider a townhouse. And there's some excellent buying for townhouses, actually. Excellent buying for townhouses. You might consider a townhouse or an apartment, right? So if you want to get closer to the city for the same money, you consider a different style of property. Now, you know, that brings its pros, it brings its cons. And for me, I prefer that mix. I prefer the proximity mix as the higher mix for me, because in the future, I like the idea of short-term letting some of my properties, yeah? Short-term letting my properties. So upside of making a smaller footprint of a piece of real estate, upside, less land tax in the future. Tell me, why is it less land tax? Because, you can chuck it in the chat if you like, if you're ready to go. Why is it less land tax? I've paid the same amount of money. I paid the same amount of money for a house, and I paid the same amount of money for, let's say, an apartment. Why is there less land tax? Well, the cost of the land on the house is, let's say, $400,000, and the value of the land on the apartment is, let's say, $100,000. Okay, same value, less land footprint, smaller print. Like, so in the future, I will pay way less land tax than those who have a land-heavy portfolio, like that, like that. And you know, you saw what the likes of Queensland did just recently, right? Or tried to anyway. Cheeky buggers. So, you know, for me, the upside as well, if we're looking at this, we're looking at, like, there's a premium of apartments rental listings are low, like really low. Premium for me, an idea that we can accelerate the income. If we have a look at what the median rental asking prices are wherever we are in the country, the bottom end of town is certainly getting some acceleration because our budgets have moved. But what can I do if I choose, let's say, a unit, or if I choose an apartment and I want to beef up my income? What can I do? Like, it's much easier in a regular apartment, and it depends on some yeah, Alice, absolutely. It depends on your strategy, right? Like, for many of us, we want the passive income from our real estate to be excellent. You acquire a few properties, and let's say you acquire a couple of really nice houses in the suburbs, to accelerate their income later on is a bit more difficult. Tell me why. Tell me what that is. Yeah, absolutely, Brendan. So I went to the short-term letting conference the other week, and there's some legislation being proposed, which is great. I think that's important because it's a little bit Wild West-ish, but there is certainly some legislation to manage what that looks like, Brendan. However, in places, let's say like Brisbane, let's say places like Canberra, there are already areas, suburbs that are nominated for this type of stuff, which is good. And away you go. So I've got a property in Canberra, probably in the same building. Some of you guys have purchased one. And I said to the team in Canberra, and listen, I would like to potentially, short-term rent this. Let me have a look at this. I want to potentially short-term rent my apartment, because instead of buying a house in the suburbs of Canberra, I purchased an apartment 1K from the CBD, like basically across the road from ASIO and stuff like that. Really good place for having a rental. And if you have a look at the long-term rent on that property, $600 a week, and depending on the occupancy of my property, I could easily earn another $10,000 to $20,000 of income up the top, and if you look down the bottom, easily another, $10,000 to $15,000 worth of in my pocket income after my expenses, right? So as we buy our properties, we have a look at what's going on. There's plenty going on out there when it comes to population and people coming into the country, but also where's some value right now. The other thing with the medium density world is the supply is like blown up as we go. All right, team, that's it. I'm done. Wealth Coffee Chat over and out. Good to see you guys back. Well, good to see me back anyway. Good to be back. That's what I probably should say. Good to be back and chatting with you guys about what's going on out there. As always, if there's something on your mind, let me know. I've got a couple of little things that I'm going to do this week. I'm going to have Thursday tax tips. It's better Tuesday tax tips, but I can't get Anthony on Tuesday. So Thursday we're going to have tax tips, and Friday we're going to have finance tips on Friday. Anyway, make sure you hang around for the week. Make sure you join me at the right times, 10 past 9 and 10 past 8, wherever you are, for Wealth Coffee Chats, team. There you go. Yep, we went to the brokers conference as well, Alison. Few things to share on that one as well. All right, folks, you guys be awesome. Be well. Remember, this thing's a marathon, not a sprint. We need to buy well and don't sell. Go the distance. Now's the time to knuckle down, concentrate on what we need to get out of our portfolio. We might need to put a bit more in before we get some out at the moment, but that's just normal. That's the way it is. All right, folks, you guys be awesome. That's it. I'm done. There we go. Wealth Coffee Chat over and out. See you, folks. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.